Ashes to ashes and all that. I'm glad I was buried. Cremation always seemed a bit too hot to handle.
Now's not the time for jokes, Bill.
Are you serious? Death is the best time for jokes. Otherwise, it's all just a bunch of boo-hoo-hoo this and wow-wow-wow that. And trust me, there's plenty of that in life. Hell, you'd know better than anyone.
All right. Just shut it for a bit while I look over the crime scene, would you? I need to concentrate.
Ekelhaft! Und das ist wie so abgeschnitten und so.
I don't think Desiree will be able to give us a hand with this investigation.
Bill?
What? I thought it was funny. Ugh, greasy, fetid, stinking ashes. Who knew the human body was capable of producing such a disgusting byproduct?
I'm surprised the coroner hasn't taken the body away yet.
Probably because there isn't much of a body left to take. Either that or Dr. Edwards knows better than to deal with something like this.
That's extremely unlike him. He'd jump at the chance to examine this body. Perhaps we should allow him the pleasure.
I hope you're not suggesting what I think you're suggesting. Miles, do you really want to go carrying around those stinking ashes in your pocket? It'll take ages to get the smell out.
Good point. I'll need to find something to carry them in.
Alas, poor Desiree, a woman of infinite riches, of tastes most fancy. Where's all your money now? Come to think of it, that question might be worth answering.
Haare liegen auch so. Asche, linkes Bein.
This one's clean. Well, aside from the fact that the rest of the leg is burned off. There's a tattoo on her ankle. It says, "Dancing through life." Hate to break it to her, but that dance is over.
So, okay, dann die andere Hand ist weg.
That's a nice portrait of Miss Lathan. Too bad it was damaged by the fire. The area where the artist's signature should be has been singed and is unreadable. Too bad.
But the date is still legible. It's from this year.
The flames must have been fairly high to be able to stain the ceiling like that. Looks like this one barely managed to survive. Pity. It looked like a nice work of art.
Sieht lecker aus, ja voll, ne? Mülleimer, da ist doch bestimmt eine Tüte
Crumpled
drin.
up letters. They look to be of the romantic variety.
They're from the same person. One Peter Andrews.
It's always sad to see a case of unrequited love. I'm thinking we should find out who this Peter Andrews is.
Good idea. Now, are you finally willing to admit that looking through rubbish does yield results sometimes?
Fine, you win. But I don't think I envy your prize.
Liebste Desiree, ich biete dir mein Herz, auch wenn ich dir nicht meine Hand anbieten kann. Wenn nur die Umstände anders wären, warum müssen Leben und Liebe so grausam sein? Ich muss dich weiterhin aus der Entfernung lieben und anbeten. Love, Peter. Ich kann nur hoffen, dass diese Gefühle auf Gegenseitigkeit beruhen. In Liebe, Peter. Meine liebste Desiree, erneut muss ich dir meine Liebe gestehen. Auch wenn du mir auf keiner Briefe bisher geantwortet hast, hege ich immer noch die Hoffnung, dass du für mich empfindest, was ich für dich empfinde. Oh. Ich bleibe dir immer treu ergeben. Wenn du nach mir rufst, eile ich sofort an deine Seite. Wir werden in baldiger Zukunft als Mr. und Mrs. Andrews verbunden sein. In Liebe, Peter. Was?
It looks as though Miss Lathan was in the middle of writing something.
It's an article for Brentwell magazine.
Das innere Feuer entfachen von Desiree für das Brentwell Magazine. Wir alle kennen den Gedanken, das innere Feuer, ein Begriff, der unseren Sinn für Leidenschaft oder Hingabe beschreiben soll. Aber wie wäre es, wenn dieses innere Feuer eine eher physische Natur hätte? Wie wäre es denn also, wenn jeder von uns Möglichkeit hätte, ein echtes Feuer in unserem Körper zu entfachen? Hat sie vielleicht getan gerade, oder?
Igniting the fires within. A bit on the nose, wouldn't you say? Classic Brentwell. They have a reputation for making their writers go to extremes for their articles, all for the sake of entertainment.
Perhaps we should pay their offices a visit, see exactly what it was Miss Lathan was doing for them.
Okay. La la, ja. Siehst du mal hier,
As much as I like this painting, this isn't the time for art appreciation. Doesn't look as though this fireplace has been used in a long time. I suppose we can rule it out as the source.
Aber ich möchte den...
Nothing else of interest in there.
Ich könnte doch da eigentlich die Tüte nehmen und dann die Asche. Hallo, ist es doch logisch, oder? Wir kriegen jetzt die...
Miles, do you really want to go
wir
carrying
kriegen die
around those
Asche
stinking
jetzt.
ashes in your pocket? It'll take ages to get the smell out.
Good point. I'll need to find something to carry them in.
I don't think Desiree will be able to give us a hand with this investigation.
Bill?
What? I thought it was funny.
Sonst sehe ich hier nichts. Kaminbild. Schreibmaschine.
Was there someone else in the room just now? I thought I heard you talking.
Oh, no. It's just sometimes I think aloud when investigating crime scenes.
I see.
Good save. We don't need any more police officers thinking you're insane. Nothing new to ask him about right now.
Naja, aber wir können jetzt die Asche nicht mitnehmen, ne? Okay, dann gehen wir mal weiter.
Good afternoon, sir. Welcome to the law offices of Usher and Price. May I help you?
Ne Brille.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Miles Fordham. I'm a private investigator, and I'm looking for Jonas Usher.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir, but Mr. Usher is not seeing anyone today. If it's a matter of urgent legal importance, you could see Mr. Price.
The plaque says it's a portrait of Thomas Usher. Looks like a real go-getter. Seems like they've got some kind of modern message delivery service in here. Of all the things to spend your money on. That pipe really clashes with the rest of the decor in here.
Begging your pardon, sir.
Yes?
Warum empfängt er heute niemand? Ich muss mit Mr. Usher über diese Relation sprechen. Danke für Ihre Zeit.
Sir, it is of the utmost importance that I speak with Mr. Usher.
And as I said, he isn't taking visitors today.
But it's in regards to his client, Desiree Lathan. Or should I say, former client.
Miss Lathan found another attorney?
No, I'm sorry to be the one to have to inform you, but she's dead.
Dead? I had no idea.
No? It was in today's newspaper.
I haven't read it yet. Mr. Usher forbids it in the office.
But surely he's read it. Just because he forbids you reading the paper in the office.
No, I mean he forbids the presence of newspapers in the office. He fears they bring in outside germs.
I see.
In any case, if what you say is true, I'll need some sort of proof.
I suppose just bringing in a copy of the newspaper is out of the question then. We'll have to find another way.
Perhaps Mr. Usher will see me when he sees this.
Oh, what's that?
A letter from Mr. Usher to his client, Desiree Lathan.
What? That's private correspondence. How did you get that?
It was evidence I found at a crime scene.
And how is it relevant?
The crime scene in question was Miss Lathan's own bedroom, where she was found burned to death.
That's quite a claim, Mr. Fordham. I can assure you that Mr. Usher deals primarily with facts. Right now, the only fact this letter proves to me is that you somehow rummaged through Miss Lathan's possessions and acquired it.
He does have a point. We'll need something a bit more persuasive.
Soll ich ihm die Asche geben, oder was?
I actually don't have anything to show.
Right. Please stop wasting my time then. I'm very busy.
Sollen wir einfach mal...
I appreciate your time.
Enjoy the rest of your day, sir.
Sollen wir einfach mal klopfen?
It would be unwise to barge into Mr. Usher's office having been told he isn't seeing anyone today.
Okay,
We need to find a way to make him change his mind.
Okay, dann gehen wir mal.
there. Are you here to drop off an article?
No, actually, I'm a private investigator. The name's Miles Fordham.
How exciting. You must have so many interesting stories.
You could say that, yes.
Please, come in, come in. I'm Alan Brentwell, owner and publisher of Brentwell magazine.
Pleasure to make your acquaintance.
Confessions of a Steam Addict by Ezra Bartley. I think I'm better off not knowing. For Whom the Bell Almost Tolled by Suki Snobs. Fascinating stuff. Useful for getting to those hard-to-reach places. In my case, that's everywhere. For the publisher of a sensationalist rag, Brentwell is awfully well read. Assuming he actually has read all those books, of course. Empty. Too bad. Brentwell has a front row seat to all the horrible things he might want to write about in his magazine. I can only begin to imagine how many lurid and salacious articles are kept in those cabinets. I can only begin to imagine how many lurid and salacious articles are kept in those cabinets.
Ein Geist kann doch schweben, Mensch. Ja, genau. So. Ja, dann reden wir mal mit ihm.
I have some questions for you, Mr. Brentwell.
Wonderful! It's so seldom I get to answer questions.
Wupp, wupp.
What can you tell me about Desiree Lathan?
Desiree Lathan. Oh, why, she came to me a few weeks ago in response to an ad I took out requesting articles. She told me she had an idea readers would love. We agreed on 10 crowns per paragraph, and she was on her way. Come to think of it, I haven't heard from her in a few days.
Oh ja, weiß auch nicht mehr.
Were you aware that Miss Lathan is dead?
What? No, I had no idea. What happened?
I'm not exactly sure. She seems to have burned to death under mysterious circumstances.
Mysterious circumstances?
Most of her body was burnt to ash, but there's very little fire damage around her. It's as though she herself just caught fire.
Oh, that sounds positively ghastly. Oh dear.
Is something wrong?
I just remembered. The article she was writing. Dear God. I hope she didn't go too far with her research.
Ich weiß gar nicht, ob wir dem so viel erzählen sollten, weil sonst landet das auch alles wieder in der Zeitung. Hier liest wohl keiner Zeitung. Nee, ich glaube auch nicht.
Tell me about Brentwell magazine.
We're a monthly publication focusing on both fiction and non-fiction pieces.
Ah, yes, you're publishing that serial, aren't you? The Dissembling Mechanism?
You're a subscriber! Tell me, what did you think of the conclusion? Quite astonishing, wasn't it?
I haven't had a chance to read it yet, I'm afraid.
Ah, then I won't say any more about it. My dream was to have a magazine that was well-respected and educational. But sadly, it seems today's audiences are much more interested in reading about sightings of giant bat creatures or mysterious buried treasures. Such a pity.
I hear you have a bit of a reputation for making your reporters do questionable things for their articles.
You are mistaken, Mr. Fordham. I don't force my writers to do anything. They seem to have this notion that the more extreme their research, the more authentic the articles will be.
What sort of extremes are we talking about here?
We had one writer who attempted to heighten the sensation of fear she wanted to express in her story. Damn near decapitated herself by sticking her head through an opening at the clock tower at St. Denis Cathedral. Ugh. Thankfully, she made it out alive. It would have been quite the predicament if she hadn't. Especially considering that was our most popular article last year. Oh, people have such odd taste.
What made you decide to start this business?
I always wanted to be a journalist. I never had much luck with any of the local papers, though. So I decided to start my own. I admit it's not exactly what I wanted, but I like to think Brentwell magazine has found its own unique voice.
Voice? More like a gurgling scream.
What exactly was Desiree's article about?
I'm not entirely sure. She merely came to me with the proposal.
She didn't tell you what that idea was?
She did, but I wasn't sure what to make of it.
Please, Mr. Brentwell, stop stalling and tell me what she was writing about.
It was about spontaneous human combustion.
What do you know about spontaneous human combustion?
That's the thing. I don't know very much at all. It sounded interesting enough. That's why I accepted Miss Lathan's proposal to write the article about it.
But what do you know about it?
Only that it's a mysterious phenomenon in which a person catches fire spontaneously and burns to death. It sounds exactly as you described Miss Lathan's condition.
Do you know what Miss Lathan's research on the subject involved?
Only the one contact I gave her, a Miss Angela Maxwell at the Spectre Society in Gascon.
Aha. Oh nein, nicht schon wieder der Geisterkundlerclub.
The Spectre Society, huh? I shouldn't be surprised to hear that name again.
Are you a member?
Actually, I am.
Then I suggest you do some research there. There's bound to be something relevant in that curious library of theirs.
Thank you. Perhaps I will. Thanks for your time, Mr. Brentwell.
The pleasure is all mine.
Da waren wir schon mal. Mal schauen, ob wir da noch wieder reinkommen. Jetzt weiß ich, warum es mir so heiß ist. Ich brauche unbedingt einen Feuerlöscher.
Welcome back, Mr. Fordham.
Could I ask you about some things, Miss Maxwell?
Certainly, darling.
Are you familiar with a woman named Desiree Lathan?
Yes, she came to see me just last week. She told me she was doing research for an article she was writing for Brentwell magazine.
What sort of research?
She asked me a few questions and looked at my books. That was all. She wasn't here for very long.
And what was she researching?
Something about spontaneous human combustion, I believe.
Did you know that Desiree Lathan is dead?
What? My God, no. I didn't. What happened to her?
She was found burned to death in her bed.
How awful.
Do you have any idea how this may have happened?
There are a number of possibilities. But if she was in the middle of researching spontaneous human combustion, and then to have this happen, it can't be a coincidence.
Are you suggesting she herself was a victim of spontaneous combustion?
One need only compare the circumstances of her death with the facts, darling.
She can't be serious, can she?
What can you tell me about spontaneous human combustion?
I'm not overly familiar with the subject, but I do have a book about it on the shelf back there. You are welcome to look at it if it will help.
I may, but I'd like to know what your understanding of it is.
Well, I believe it is when the human body inexplicably catches fire and burns. It usually occurs among elderly women who drink to excess, and very little fire damage is caused around the body. That's really all I know, darling. It's not a very agreeable subject for study now, is it?
Thank you for the information. It was very enlightening.
It was my pleasure, darling.
Okay, haben wir das dann nicht eigentlich schon mal gelesen?